Hey, what's up book lovers? My name is Menim and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to bring you my anticipated releases for the summer of 2017. Now when I say summer releases, I mean books that are coming out in June, July, and August only because that's really what I feel is summer. Like I know September 21st is technically the last day of summer and the first day of fall, but in my mind September means school and school means fall and summer means no school, and I have no school right now, so it's summer. Because I am late, as usual, there are two books on this list that are already out, and the first one of them is Once and For All by Sarah Dessen. Now, Sarah Dessen is one of my absolute favorite contemporary authors of all time. Like, she's just amazing, and I love all of the stories that I've read by her. I haven't read all of her books, but this one sounds really, really good. So this book follows Luna, who is the daughter of a wedding planner, and she's very cynical of happily ever after endings, which, girl, I feel you. She then meets this serial dater named Ambrose, and she's very determined to keep him away from her. She's like, nah, I don't want this. But he feels like he finally met the girl of his dreams. So the story is going to follow their relationship, and it sounds like it's going to be really, really cute, and I absolutely cannot wait to get my hands on it. This next one is the one that I am most excited about on this list, and it actually already came out on June 13th, and I am just so excited to read this book. Like, I had to go out the day it came out to Barnes & Noble's to go and get it, and that book is Saints and Misfits by S.K. Ali, and I'm just so excited. Like, can we just, look at this cover for a sec. There's a hijabi on the cover. Like, I am so excited about that. I have never read a book about a Muslim teen living in America. I've never read a book where the hijabi was on the cover. I've never read a book about a Muslim in general where the Muslim is the main character and we're gonna follow her story. Like, this means so much to me, and I'm really, really glad that we're getting more diverse reads, especially in YA, because before, growing up, like, I could dream of seeing something like this in YA. Like, it would never have happened. Like, I never would have seen something like this growing up or reading a book in YA that was about a Muslim teen. I've never even read a book where, like, a Muslim teen was a side character, except maybe, like, one time from a John Green book. This is about an actual Muslim teen. The cover shows that. The cover shows that there's a hijabi on there, and the author herself is a hijabi, and it's an Own Voices book. I cannot express how happy I am about that. This book follows Jenna Yusuf, who is an Arab Indian American Muslim teen, and she's also this aspiring photographer. And then she ends up meeting this boy named Jeremy, and she all of a sudden really starts to care about what he thinks. And as she's trying to deal with that, because Muslims don't really date, and she's trying to figure that part of her life out, she also finds out the secret about this monster in her mosque who's walking around praying as if he's a saint, and she doesn't really know what to do about that. So it sounds like it's going to be a really, really, really great book, and I'm so excited to finally read a YA book where the main character is a Muslim teen that I can actually relate to, and I just have really high hopes for this book, so I hope it does not let me down. Now, the next book on this list is actually coming out on June 27th. I actually was able to pick up an arc of this book at BookCon, and that book is The Waking Lands by Callie Bates. So this is a YA fantasy that centers around Lady Alana, who is basically raised by the king as if she were his daughter, and then the king is murdered, and she is blamed for his death. Like, she's a suspect in his death, and what happens is she has to go back to her hometown she has to face her estranged father, but along the way she comes across like these powers with a connection to the natural world, and she's like kind of learning about these powers, and at the same time she's kind of trying to decide if she's going to turn against the kingdom she gave her allegiance to. The cover of this book is really pretty, and it kind of gives me this vibe that these powers are going to be like connected to Earth and things like that, and I love that, and I cannot wait to get to this book. The next book that I have on this list is Because You Love to Hate Me, 13 Tales of Villainy, edited by Anne-Marie. This book comes out on July 11th, and I'm so excited because I really am in love and intrigued by the concept of this book. So basically, 13 booktubers teamed up with 13 authors and gave them a prompt about a certain villain, and they wrote a short story about this villain. I've never read an anthology before. This might be my first one. I'm in love with the cover, and I'm just so excited because it features so many fantastic authors and a lot of my favorite booktubers, so I cannot wait to get my hands on this book and read it. And we all love good villain stories, so I'm really, really excited to finally like read a book that is solely about that. Now, the next book that I have to talk about also comes out on July 11th, and I also was able to pick up an arc of this at BookCon, and that is The Perfect Recipe for Love and Friendship by Shirley Jump. This book centers around our main character who has kind of lived this unhappy marriage, and she's given up a lot to be in this marriage. She's given up a connection to her family and her friends back home, and then her husband gets claimed by this accident and he passes away. So now she gets the opportunity to go back back to her family business and the bakery that her family owns, and to really rekindle this relationship with her family and her sisters. So this sounds like it's going to be an amazing book about family, and those are like some of my favorites. Like those are some of my favorite contemporary reads. So those are the two releases that I'm really anticipating in July. Now moving on to August, the first one that I'm really excited about is The Epic Crush of Jeannie Lo by FCE, and I was also very lucky to be able to pick up an arc of this at BookCon this year. This book comes out on August 8th, and it's about our main character, Jeannie Lo, who is basically trying to get into like a really good college, but then her town gets attacked by these demons that come from Chinese folklore, and now she has to battle that at the same time as kind of just managing her school life and everything. So this sounds like it's going to be really, really fun. It looks like it's going to be just like a great ride, like a fantasy adventure, and I believe it's a standalone. We don't get that many standalones in YA fantasy, so I'm super excited to get to this book, and I'm really intrigued by the Chinese folklore aspect of this book as well. The next book that I'm really excited for in August is A Map for Wrecked Girls by Jessica Taylor, and this book comes out on August 15th. I was also lucky enough to pick up an arc of this at BookCon, and this book is a YA contemporary that follows these two sisters, Emma and Henry, who are really, really close, but then something happens between them that kind of breaks them apart, and then they end up stranded on this shore. I'm not exactly sure how that happens, but I'm really excited to find out. And then Emma gets really close to this troubled boy on the island named Alex and gets farther apart from her sister Henry, and really the way back home is their way back to each other. So I'm really excited for this because of the whole family aspect. Once again, I love, love, love stories that center around family and focus on family dynamics, so I'm really excited about this, and this cover is so stunning, and I cannot wait to eventually get to this book. This next book comes out on August 22nd, and that is After the Game by Abby Glines. This is her third book in kind of like this companion series. I'm actually not sure what it's called. I believe it's called like the Field Party series or something like that, but I read the first one, which was Until Friday Night. I wasn't like that crazy about it. I gave it like 3 stars, but it was like your typical YA contemporary read that was like super addicting, but like the main male character, unlike most other YA contemporaries that I've read, I couldn't stand. But each book centers around a different character from like those original cast of characters in the first book. So I believe that this is the third one and the final one. This synopsis was the one that intrigued me the most. I'm really excited because it follows the character that I liked the most in the first book. I do have the second book, and I'm definitely planning on reading it. I'm just trying to get through A Court of Mist and Fury and A Court of Wings and Ruin right now, and right after that I'm planning on reading that second book to kind of make sure that I don't fall into a reading slump, because I do not want to fall into another one of those. I refuse. It's not going to happen, and that book by Abby Glines will help me ensure that it does not happen. The second to last book on this list is Red Dirt by Anna Jarzeb, and that comes out on August 29th. This is another YA contemporary. It sounds like it's going to be really hard-hitting. It's about our main character, Sammy, who lives in the small town with her father, who is an ex-con, and he's trying really hard to make sure that he keeps custody of her 6-year-old sister. But then her father disappears, and Sammy knows exactly who to expect. She knows it's this drug dealer, but this drug dealer has a very good relationship with the sheriff of the town, and as a result, law enforcement doesn't really care about finding her father. This book sounds like it's going to kind of have a mystery aspect to it, and it also seems to focus a little bit on family, so I'm super excited about that, and to also see where the main character's story goes. Now, the last book on this list is also coming out on August 29th. After Saints and Misfits, I have to say this is the one that I'm excited about the most because it is a YA dystopian. I haven't been this excited about a dystopian for a really long time. I haven't read a dystopian in quite a while, and I know a lot of people are always like, oh my god, dystopian's like over and whatever, and I literally just watched a video before filming this one about how dystopians had their rise and then they fell. I personally disagree with that because I love dystopians. Every time I read a dystopian book, it's always been one of my favorite books of all time. I don't know, for some reason I just eat those up and I'm in love with them, and they make me really happy. And I know like sometimes like people will be dissatisfied with the last book or whatever, but I usually love them all the way through, no matter like what happens in the end. So I'm honestly really excited to read about this one because this sounds so cool. I've never ever seen a book like this before. And that book is All Rights Reserved by Gregory Scott Katsoulis. I believe that's how you say his name. I'm sorry if I didn't say it right. But this book takes place in this world where every word that you speak, you have to pay for. Every little gesture, like every nod, every scream, every gesture of affection, you have to pay for that. And eventually people end up in debt because how do you communicate in this world? I'm really curious. Like, how do people communicate? How do they afford to live that life? So obviously because you fall into debt, like there's always going to be these consequences that you can't afford. You can't afford to live that life. Like, how do you communicate with the rest of the world? How do you get your ideas across? How does this world kind of work? Like, do people just like write everything down and then communicate that? Like, I'm really curious to see what that's going to be about. And so we follow our main character named Speth, whose best friend actually commits suicide rather than pay that debt that her family is in. So the main character decides that she's never going to speak again, and she's not going to deliver her last day speech, which will transition her into adulthood. I'm not exactly sure like what that last day speech is, like what that entails, or what that really means. Maybe that's when they stop speaking so that they don't fall into debt, but she decides to skip that part completely and just not do the last day speech, and that eventually sends her family into collection, which I'm also not exactly sure like what that means. So I'm really excited to find out more about this world and how that works. And her actions, her not speaking, actually spark this revolution, and I'm so excited to read about that. Good books about revolutions and changes happening, like political and social changes happening, are some of my favorites. Like, I'm absolutely so excited about this book, you don't even understand. So those are my anticipated summer releases for 2017. Let me know if you guys are excited about any of the books that I mentioned. I'm definitely most excited about Saints and Misfits, like I mentioned, and All Rights Reserved. Let me know what summer releases you guys are anticipating, and maybe you can put something on my radar. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time with a new video. Bye!